Friday. It's Friday. It's been a tough week at the office for all of you, I'm sure. Sarcastic. I don't think most people are going to the office. Good morning, mushrooms. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, brothers, sisters, mothers, misters, and to all my cousins out there around the world. It's time to plug in and get this train chugging. We're already in the newsroom. A record number of new COVID cases, as we saw in recent days. We have set new records. We are spiraling, and I always say we because I grew up in the States and I am technically an American. I've not lived there for a long time, but it still ends up being we. Spiraling out of control. Things are spiking. Look at that, 37,000 new corona cases diagnosed on Thursday. Then, China records 13 new cases. Who seems to be managing things a little bit better? It is China. I'm not saying they're not getting a free pass here or anything, but they're doing a better job of keeping things under control. Guidance, coming from the word to guide. A person who guides you is a guide, and they give you guidance. Yeah, and so that way, sometimes they hold you by the hand and lead you and guide you. Other times they just provide guidelines. Typically, when we're talking about guidance, it is about those guidelines, those little borders between which you should stay and function, much like a little kid with a coloring book, and you're supposed to stay between the lines. Yeah? Moving on to PM postpones a wedding to attend a COVID-19 meetings. Either way, to postpone something. Why? To attend a meeting. I would love to see this level of dedication in the United States. They would probably just opt not to go and sit the meeting out, or sit out the meeting. But yes, that is dedication, determined to do their job. To postpone, to delay something until a later time, usually for a reason, with an infinitive. A synonym for that would be to put off doing something until a later time. And us perpetual procrastinators, if you are like me, you love putting things off until the last minute possible. Drives my wife a little bit crazy sometimes, much like it used to drive my professors crazy. My putting off can be off-putting. Try and unpack that in your free time. Moving on. Trump. We've had it several times and I love it. Entrenched. And it's like digging a hole, a long hole in which soldiers fight. It's like a channel. It's a trench. And to become entrenched, then it means that you are dug in. There's another one for you. You are dug in, and it's more difficult to defeat you or move you. And so ideas, philosophies, strategies can become entrenched, and that just means that they are very difficult to change or move. In this case, his failed strategy, he is entrenched in it. He will not budge. He will not move. He is doubling down and is determined to stick with this strategy, regardless of the fact that aides and allies are trying to encourage a pivot. They're encouraging him to pivot. To pivot, much like in basketball, somebody throws you the ball, you can turn based on one foot and rotate around that foot. And so you hear this term pivoting in business very often, and it's when one strategy is not working, and so you turn and try and go a different way. Famous stories, for example, Slack and Twitter both came out of internal chat messaging. The company was actually trying to do something else. It was not profitable, and they're like, hey, this works really well. Let's do this. And the company just kind of changed directions, pivoting around its core. There's that one point around which it then rotates. And so, and what is an aide? It's a person who aids. It is a person who helps you. It's an assistant of sorts. Face the prospect of the possibility. It's just another way to diversify instead of saying the possibility, the possibility, the possibility, the probability. The prospect of a landslide loss. There's some good alliteration. Landslide loss. A landslide loss, much like or an avalanche, when all of the snow comes down a mountain very quickly and buries a village. Or after a lot of rain, part of a mountain will just come down, and that is a landslide, and it involves a lot of land. And so if something, using it figuratively here, it's a landslide loss or a landslide victory, it means by a very large margin. And so he's probably going to lose by a very large margin. Why? Due to his failed strategies, in which he is entrenched. All right. Cool. So nice other visual vocabulary. It's an odd juxtaposition of terms, but his COVID, post-COVID bubble, the economic bubble, or no, this is not about the economy. It was about his popularity. He was, for some reason, rising in popularity. But whereas bubbles usually pop and burst and then therefore disappear because they're hollow and empty, his bubble is evaporating. Yesterday we had melting, going from a solid to a liquid, much like the polar ice caps or glaciers. And well, then from a liquid to a gas. Like if we spill some water on the tabletop, over time it will slowly just disappear magically. It will evaporate. And so his bubble didn't pop and disappear immediately, but it's slowly but surely disappearing. You could also say it's dissolving. Like if you put salt or sugar into water, it will slowly but surely magically disappear. Pull has turned up a few times in recent days in the headlines, and if you're pulling something from the shelves, you're pulling it out of circulation, you're pulling episodes from the offering on your platform, you're removing it from public access or public circulation, and so you're taking it away. Because everything's going so well in the States, we should just pull any federal assistance for testing. Okay. More COVID news, but in a completely different geographic area, to the subcontinent of India. Desperation builds in Delhi's hospitals as the COVID cases, look at that, you got desperation, Delhi, COVID cases, a lot of alliteration. The writers love it because it just kind of, I don't know, it's more memorable and it sounds nice in a way. The cases are soaring like a bird or an airplane. They're flying high, increasing rapidly, like a plane which has just taken off. Come on, Cameron, you're an English teacher. You can do better than that. Like a plane that has just taken off, soaring into the sky, but far less positive because there is desperation building. It's mounting, it's growing in Delhi. And desperation is when you're feeling desperate. You're experiencing despair. And desperation will often cause rash or drastic actions. Desperation often is the hotbed or breeding ground, recycled vocabulary, for extremism and then often therefore terrorism. But yes, desperation can cause people to do crazy things in order to, say, feed their families or save their life. Like, say, a fox or a coyote that is caught in a trap and it cannot escape, it will actually chew or gnaw its own arm off. Well, it's a leg because it's a type of dog. It will chew its own leg off in order to escape. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Yeah? True. Fact. Moving on. All right. UK, well done. A major incident has been declared. Reduced passive has been declared as thousands of people flock to the beaches. Flocks like a group of birds. However, people don't flock like birds. People just, they flood the place and they swarm more like ants. People moving everywhere. Birds are much more organized. Geese, they always fly in a V. Starlings, you've probably seen video of the crazy flocks of starlings, and it becomes this amorphous mass making shapes in the air. Really quite fascinating. When people flock, it's far less organized and a lot more dangerous. But I love it. They call it a major incident. In the US, we declare disasters. We declare emergencies. It's a nice euphemism. It's a major incident. If it's just an incident, I don't think it needs a declaration, in my opinion. But that's just the way that the Brits roll, I guess. Moving on. This king, it ruled the colony, because kings rule, kings and queens, all royalty rule over, rule over their countries, their populations, and or their colonies. Because why do we use rule? Because I think king or queen's word is law. It becomes a rule. That's just what we say. Kings and queens rule, but he ruled the colony with ruthless cruelty, which is interesting. It's almost redundant because ruthless means with extreme cruelty. And that means that you're a really nasty person and causing the suffering of people, completely without or devoid of compassion, empathy, sympathy, any sort of feeling of remorse or regret, and you don't really care about loss of life or anything else. Less, usually as a suffix, usually means without. Without Ruth, no, it doesn't exist. I think even some comedian did a bit about Ruthless and Ruth, but no, Ruthless just means without any compassion or empathy, sympathy, etc. Yes, and his 21st century nemesis, Snatch, I believe, where the guy goes on about nemesis. Your arch nemesis or your arch enemy is your long-term rival, your polar opposite, the good guy and the bad guy. You got, what, Harry Potter and Voldemort. You've got Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, or you could say the Emperor. All right, getting lost in that. We're talking about people here. And it's about King Leopold of Belgium and the way he completely destroyed the Congo. And now we've got a Congolese Belgian 14-year-old who is working tirelessly to remove the statues, which glorify that evil, evil man. Sorry if you're out there, Bert, but yeah, Leopold, bad king. I don't know. Moving on. Now we're going to put these two together here just because it's in the news every day. We've got backlash and outrage, and it's just the voicing of public anger and upset against somebody's actions for having done something. We've had it many times. I just like pulling out my lighter though. The spark is what causes the fire. And so we spark outrage, spark a debate, spark, oh my nose itches, spark anger, sparks a fight, sparks many things, usually bad things. Ooh, or it could be spark romance, spark the passion. You need to reignite the romance. To set foot on, it's just a nice visual term, and in this case it's true. She hasn't set foot on dry land since 2019. She literally has not set. Well, set in very many of its meanings is like the same as put, set it over there. She has not literally set her foot on dry land since 2019, so that's 6 months. There's a lot of people who have spent a lot more time on a boat than that, but apparently this is news, and either way it's a good phrase. At one point I went 2.5 years without setting foot back in the USA. That was due to visa issues, not personal preferences. But to set foot on somewhere, to set foot somewhere, just means to literally step there, and therefore it gets extrapolated into meaning have visited. Moving on. Ooh, espionage. All right, espionage charges. The man from Long Island in the US is being charged or has been charged with espionage. They say he is a spy. Ooh, intriguing. He ended up in a Chinese prison. Now, that's a bummer. That's unfortunate. To end up somewhere is to kind of just find yourself in a position or situation or location, and often just kind of unexpectedly or by chance. Think of the movie The Hangover. The guys went out for a bachelor party, and it started off in what had seemingly started as an innocent evening, ended up being one of the craziest nights on record of all time. It's fictional, I know that, but ended up being a pretty good movie too, despite my expectations. So he has been charged with being a spy. He is in custody, has been detained. I don't think he has been sentenced yet. He is being held behind bars in a Chinese prison. Bummer. More unfortunate news. We've had it before. I don't know if it's happening again or the news has just come up. The headline has come up again. Airplanes have intercepted a Russian aircraft near Alaska. To intercept, much like if you throw a ball to your teammate, like that, and it's going to your teammate here, but then somebody else comes and intercepts the ball. And so it means to stop something before it reaches its intended destination. Apparently 1 in 3 pilots, that means 1/3 of all pilots, not pirates, pilots. I don't think pirates have licenses. Licenses are counterfeit. They are forgeries. They are not authentic. They are not real. They are imitations, they are knockoffs, I don't know, probably just forgeries. Some more disturbing news. In case you're wondering, babies are being sold on Instagram. By whom? I don't know. And who are they bought by? I don't know that either. I don't know if I want to know. We'll let the police handle that one, but nice. Present continuous passive. It is in progress. They are up for sale and on the market. Come now and get yourself a baby. Available now for a limited time. If you buy now, we'll throw in one package of Pampers just to sweeten the deal. Do you think that would clinch the deal? Oh, that was a long walk for some recycled vocabulary. Moving on. Everybody loves saying fifth. Say it, don't spray it. Moving on. To orbit something means just to go around it, much like the moon orbits the earth and the sun orbits the moon orbits the earth and the earth orbits the sun. Keep it together, Cameron. Sounds interesting. Wombats are fascinating. We're not going to get into that though. Just this little hyphenated suffix like, meaning similar to. It's pretty obvious, and so we're not going to dwell on it. Moving on. You might know the comic book Spawn. Well, here, vampire fish is spawning. Spawning is typically used for fish and other aquatic animals, and it just means the releasing of eggs in a large fashion all at once. Or, yes, procreating in a large fashion. But yeah, in video games we spawn new characters, and it just means to come back to life, come back into the game. Yeah, that's really it. Sorry, don't have anything else there. High rises, another word for tall buildings. Not quite a skyscraper, but it's tall. That's it. So you know, if you see it, which are being built. That's why I highlighted it, because of the reduced relative clause and passive reduced. I'm having trouble talking today. High rises which are being built by normal citizens and not architects. Sounds risky if you ask me. Is it up to code? I don't know. Would you live in a tall building that was built by someone other than a person who designs buildings? Let me know. Here we go. Just a great verb, to tinker. To tinker around with something. Now here, Silicon Valley can no longer tinker around the edges. They need to get to the true root of the problem, the core of the substance, and change things from the inside, not just around the edges. That's how they're going to affect change and actually have an effect on diversity in Silicon Valley. Really, to tinker with something or to tinker around with something means to try and repair it or fix it or play with it. You tinker around with an engine, or programmers might tinker around with some code. And it's to work on some machine or system in an amateurish or playful fashion. Sometimes we just like to fiddle around with. Interesting point, a fiddle and a violin are exactly the same instrument. They're just called different things when you play different styles of music. Huh. Who knew? Now you know. Put that in your pocket. To dabble with or dabble in. Just to do it amateurishly and playfully. For fun, but also maybe to repair and come up with something amazing. 2 different locations that I've broadcast from, 3 within a week, but now I finally found my home, and so that's pretty exciting. So keep your eyes peeled and posted for an updated schedule next week. Gonna have more exciting stuff on offer. That was breaking down the news for Friday the 25th of June. English otherwise, thank you very much for all the viewers, all the watchers, all the participation, the likes, the thank yous, the subscribes, the thumbs ups, the comments, and the pass it along to a friend, aka the share. If I don't see you sooner, I'll see you Monday at 8 a.m. as always. I have a great day and an even better weekend. Bye-bye. Yeah, stop the stream. Come on.